dark in a seat. I like to kind of know about repertoire or artistic information before I actually come. And are you surprised with them? I mean, obviously we don't have our own venues always. We don't always control the food and beverages at the venues where we play. But is there something simple you can do? I mean, can you do a 2-for-1 drink voucher? 50 cents off, Ron said in his last presentation. I mean, those are the kind of things that you will not get high redemption on. They won't cost you a lot of money. And you've got to kind of think about how you can apply that kind of thinking to stuff that makes sense to what you do. Here's an example of a ticketing insert that I developed at the Sydney Opera House, because there was actually nothing available that told customers how to come and what the site looked like and where to go and what to do. Now, I must admit I had some fairly strong aspirations around converting them to other stuff through this as well. Now, there were a few lessons learned from doing it. First of all, somebody had to put these ticketing inserts into the envelopes, and though that might sound simple, when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of tickets a year, suddenly that's actually a resource strain on the guys in ticketing. So, you know, I had to kind of do a bit of softly with them. I mean, secondly, while we experienced really solid redemption on the experiential stuff that complemented people's actual attendance, it was generally a waste of time to try and sell them other shows. We went to a bit of effort to try and get special offers to shows coming up in the next 2 or 3 months and include that in the same thing. Forget it. Our notions of what frequency, a marketer's notions of frequency, often radically different from a customer's. You know, for them to come twice in a 2-year period, they would consider that, if you ask them in a qualitative research group, they would consider that regular attendance. And lastly, we had to be wary, I guess, of how these flyers were practically used, because what happened is they'd sit there in boxes, suddenly somebody would start stuffing them into the envelopes again, and all the offers were out of date. So you kind of got to watch that. Now, I wanted to talk about a really happy story of one of the simplest little marketing activities we put into play when I was at the Sydney Symphony in 2004, I think. It was cheap, it was off the cuff, and it really improved the customer's experience. Now, Tan Dun's the guy who composed the soundtrack to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which was a big hit about 7 or 8 years ago. And he was coming there to do music from that, and also to do this thing called Water Symphony, where musicians would literally be splashing around water and making noises with different bowls of water. It was quite a kooky experience. But because of the success of Crouching Tiger, it went off. And we had front rows off sale when we built the event, because there was going to be lots and lots of water splashing happening. Now, you know, we'd achieved budget, that was all good, but we kind of thought, well, look, is there something we can do with those first front rows that we could sell them? Went out to the storeroom, found a box of old ponchos that had been sitting around since we'd done Symphony in the Domain about 2 years beforehand.